Welcome back. This is Urdizzle with Chapter 2, Episode 8, in what will be the final episode of my Zero to Hero series. When we first started this series, the goal was to see how long or what it would take to get from beginner level to have not just the ability, but the discs to compete at the highest level. And I think after seeing these 4 rounds, we'll have a pretty good idea of where we stand. And so we are level 5 right now. And going through some of the bags and options and things we've got. So there's an option for a putter pouch. And one of the things I do for my main bag is I do use an accurate sticky keystone, which is really good for forehand throw-ins. And so right now, I don't really have that option. I use my fuse, which is fine, but I do have an accurate sticky keystone in my bag. I just don't have a spot for it. And it wouldn't be used enough to bump out of main discs. Or a disc in my bag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I do have some coins, enough to purchase a putter pouch. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and throw in the keystone. Again, this is one of those where I could probably save my coins, but being only level 5, there's really not a lot of good options in the disc golf shop. So when I buy stuff, I'm not going to be getting any really good attribute discs. So I thought, why not do that? All right, so here we go. Week 124. This is a little ways ago. So I was taking some time to figure out with my alternate account how to properly log in and do all that stuff. So we're going to play all 4 rounds, Pro Tour, straight through, and we're going to see how it works. And we're going to stop at different places and discuss my discs. So for this round, we've got the Keystone, the Fuse, the River, Explorer, Musket, all the standard stuff that I've had in every other video for this series. So hole 1, Oak Hill, pretty easy shot. So here's a first example of where having the proper discs makes a difference. Right now, my longest disc is a no attribute Ballista Pro, which is a good disc, but it's not going to give me the skip that a lot of the bigger discs will. So this, I think, is the first hole where you start to see some of the disadvantages you will have by not having a lot of the high-end discs. So we got a right to left win, a little tail, and that helped me quite a bit. I actually got further up there than I thought. But again, 163 it's makeable, and I'm going to go ahead and throw my fuse, and I just missed. But the difference between 163 versus being able to throw it in from 80 or even putt it from 50, like right there, that is 1 stroke difference. And you can keep a tally as we go through this, but I will try to stop along the way and show you where those strokes come from. If you ever wonder why, if you're a newer player, or maybe you're just some strokes away from the top pro-level players, where those strokes are coming from. Some of it is skill level, some of it is ability to scramble, but some of it is just you got to have the discs to do it. So far, Oak Hill was the first one. This is a very reasonable hole. I'll throw a musket on it. And really, as long as you avoid that tree, those rocks used to come into play too, but those got shrunk down over to the left of the tree right there. So they're kind of tiny right now. All right, this is another hole where, me personally, I feel like I'm at a disadvantage. I would normally throw a recoil to try to get up on the front end of that left ledge. Because if I can get inside 160 feet, I feel like I have a really high percentage chance of making that. But unfortunately, I don't have that, which forces me to throw the musket. And now here, instead of being 160 feet away, I'm now 207. And this is makeable, don't get me wrong, but we're talking about percentages. And your percentages of making a 207-foot throw-in uphill versus 160, I mean, you want to be closer. And so I ended up getting a birdie there. And that's not to say I would have eagled it every time, but you at least got a better shot at it. Same thing here, although this one doesn't come into play as much. I would normally throw my accurate wind river. So here, having the accurate glide kind of pushes it a little too far to the right. So right there, I hit that tree. If that was my wind river, I would have been left, and I probably would have been somewhere under the basket. And so luckily there, that didn't cost me, but that's another example of, let's say, a half a stroke where if I miss 1 out of every 5 of those, that can come back to bite me. All right, hole 7, here's another one. So we're on Grizzly Gulch, hole 9, and this is one where I would throw an accurate glide musket, and especially with the wind of 1, and I would get it up there every single time. Unfortunately, I don't have that. And so I'm forced to kind of disc up here and throw the ballista forehand, and that came in hot. And that was a pretty good shot. But again, if you have to do that on a consistent basis, that's just not a high percentage shot. I know some people actually like doing that. And then a hole 8. So this round 1 is chocked full of opportunities that I just don't have. Is a wind of 2. If I had a light glide Ballista Pro or something big, I could really get it up top there. I just don't think I have the disc for it, so I'm going to kind of lay it up short. And that was actually probably the worst shot I could have done. It's outside of putt range, and I'm not far enough back to do a throw-in, so that was actually a pretty crappy shot. I should have aimed a little higher and left it short to at least give myself a throw-in opportunity. All right, and then hole 9, we're ending the Grizzly Gulch thing here, and the accurate windbreak musket was fine for that. I will normally throw the accurate glide, but that's not too bad. So we were able to see there were at least 4 opportunities where having better discs would have helped, and not every one of them did I miss, but it's definitely, I could see a 13 under pretty easily on that layout if I had the right discs. And so as you see there, the whole top of the leaderboard 13, there's even a 14 in there. So right there, we're already a couple strokes back of the top pros. Remember, it's 0 to hero. Do we have enough to compete at that top level? All right, so let's roll right into round 2. And we start off with a very, very easy hole. So again, I'm not necessarily focusing on the score when I play these rounds. I'm focusing on what's the difference between the bag I have now and the bag I could potentially have, and where could I get strokes. So here, another one with a musket, that's pretty easy. I normally bag multiple muskets, my accurate glide and my accurate wind. They're just, the musket is just arguably one of the top 3 best discs in the game. And so it just baffles me when people don't use that, or they have Pioneers and whatever other discs they have in there, a Saint Pro. It's like, those are decent discs, but they're no musket. All right, so 3 for 3, 3 pretty easy, par 4s, or par 3, excuse me. All right, now we switch over to Frozen, which this is a pretty easy hole for my accurate windbreak musket, but Frozen Valley has a lot of holes where if you don't have the big drivers, you're kind of taken out of play. You're out of position, like hole 2 is one. Now here's an example of one where I would normally throw a recoil, which I don't have, but the ballistas I have should be reasonable, and so here the Ballista Pro, it's overstable enough to fight back, and I was able to get that one. So I'm hoping we don't get Frozen number 2, because that would be a nightmare. And I should have just shut my mouth. That's one of those where if I just... So here, I don't have the discs, I feel, to comfortably go for it and bring the water into play. And with the wind of 3, I'm just playing this safe. I'm going to lay up short, 2nd shot to the island, 3rd to the final landmass, 4th up, 5th get my par and get out of here. I just have to avoid the trees in the middle here, get through. All right, there we go. So I'm in pretty good shape here to get my par. I just don't feel like I have the distance to get there. So we're going to throw the Ballista Pro, and that should leave me a musket shot in. Maybe 340. Yeah, let's go forehand Ballista, just to make sure we get the distance. Or excuse me, musket, I'm sorry. So 340, I wasn't too worried about that. All right, and then we go over to Windswept. This is an Explorer hole. So really there's only one hole there in Frozen Valley that cost me because I just didn't feel like I had the discs. So far, that's about it. This is honestly, it's a pretty boring layout. Not really a lot to this. That's a pretty easy shot. And maybe they give me one of the par 4s to end. I don't know. No, this guy. That's a tricky one. So this layout kind of sucks. I would not be surprised if there's very few 10 unders. I just don't see where a lot of the strokes are coming from. I mean, you do have some ace opportunities on that. The one harrowing par 3 that was over the ponds. I mean, that's a reasonable ace run, but I'm not seeing too many hot rounds on this one. Maybe 11 under hot round. I don't really see much else. I don't think I could have done much more than that other than an ace. All right, so it looks like mostly 9 unders and 10 under. Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense. So right now, 2 strokes from round 1, 1 stroke from round 2. There's really not much more I could do with that. All right, so let's jump into round 3. So we're starting off on Lakeside. Again, this is one I'm not getting crazy. There's no point in ace running this one, which I've got a couple semi-safe ace runs I could do with a musket, but it's just, at this point, I'm not. All right, so here's one where I feel like I'm at a disadvantage. For me, I don't really use the Explorer that much. This would be a river shot for me, and I would feel very comfortable with that, but I'm really not 100% sure where I want to aim this one. So this could be short, right, left, short. Okay. And that 1 to 3 is very difficult, and we're going to go ahead and run this one pretty hard. I'm going to try to make it. 1 to 3, this is very dangerous. That might be too, oh, that's way too much. I don't know what the hell I was doing there. Let's try again, a little softer. No. So that's going to turn into quite the ridiculous triple bogey. So I feel like right there that cost me 4 strokes. So if we're keeping a total, I feel like I'm behind 7 strokes now. All right, so we get lakeside. This is going to require a throw on. And again, I would throw my accurate windbreak river right here. I just don't feel comfortable. We'll throw the Explorer, and that's got a slow motion shot. Sorry, I just had to do that. So close, a little short. Yeah, that was actually a reasonable run for a disc that I don't normally bag. And I absolutely hate seeing that red, but okay, here's this one again. We're going to go musket, and luckily I'm getting favorable winds, so that 1 to 3 is helping get that accurate windbreak up there a little bit. It is windbreak, but it still does get affected by that wind. So I was very fortunate there. I really missed my accurate glide. All right, this is another one where, so right about here, I would normally throw my light glide Ballista Pro, and I would have a lot more height. So a lot of these trees would be taken out of play, but having the no attribute Ballista kind of lowers the trajectory and brings the trees into play. And so right there, that's awful kick. That was really bad. So I think part of that was affected by trying to throw the same line I do. Oh, and we might save birdie stick. No, not quite. So that one kind of cost me there. So again, you're starting to see a couple discs come into play here. So for me, that's now 5 shots on this round. So we're up to 8 total. Again, I'm looking at what I feel like I'm leaving out there. All right, so that one almost a gimme. And I guess I probably could have run that with my Explorer, but we're not trying to do anything. All right, here's another one. So not having a long distance driver, a skip disc, I feel like this is costing me an eagle opportunity. Although with the Ballista Pro, I can still get it out there far enough to get a shot, but it's not going to be putting. I'm going to have to make a good drive and then probably a decent sized throw in. Oh, not with that drive. Oh boy, that was bad. 134. Let's see if we can throw in with the keystone. This right here is the reason I put the keystone in. Bam, got it. That was much harder than it needed to be, but I'm glad we were able to save that one. All right, this one too, I would prefer getting a little further up the hill. Let's see if this will skip up a little. Okay, that wasn't bad. But again, the difference between putting, eventually those, like you can't make those throw-ins at the same percentage or clip you're making putts. So it's just kind of is what it is. But I made those, but very easily could have missed them. All right, now this is one I would love to have my skip Ballista Pro. Unfortunately, I don't. I know this regular Ballista is not going to get there. So I've got a roller disc, but it's not a great roller disc. And I haven't really thrown it a lot. Like that one I think is going to turn over too much. So maybe with a little work, I could get that one a little closer, but I kind of left that a little too short. And we're going to go with this guy again. I think this might be a little too low, but yeah. All right, so we're up to 9 strokes I've given away. See if we can end round 4 with something a little better. So that's a 600. I definitely gave quite a few strokes away that round. That triple bogey was just brutal, but again, accurate wind river all day long. So right now cost me 6. So I was 6 to 7 strokes off the pace that last round. So that was just brutal. All right, and that leaves us with round 4, so we'll see if we can finish strong. Again, we're way out of contention now, but I think it was that triple bogey. But even with that triple bogey, I mean, if I'm however many strokes out, so I was 7 strokes back, that was a 4-stroke swing on just that one hole. I'm at least kind of sniffing around the lead a little bit. Probably not enough to get up there, but close. We're starting off with some easy holes here. Again, it's all about the separators. So here's another separator hole, and we've got a left-right wind of 3, and I don't really use the left route, and we're not going to go there. So if I had a skip ballista, I'd be able to kind of get around the corner to give myself a throw-in. And if you've watched previous videos, I'm going to use my Ballista Pro, and I've actually gone out of bounds once on this. So we're going to try to cut really, really, really close to the mountain, and oh, that is basically as close to that rock face as you can get without hitting it. In here, I'm a little out of position. 137 with that wind. I probably should have thrown fuse, but with the tree there as the backdrop, I didn't want to go long and skip behind that tree, so I kind of played it safe. All right, we're switching over to Oak Hill, so we know we're probably going to get some par 4s. And this is one of the easier par 4s, I think, on the course. So having my Ballista Pro, I mean, yeah, there you go, tapping. So you're really not at a disadvantage there. This hole, however, I think this is a huge disadvantage because with that favorable wind, I would love to throw a light glide Ballista or Ballista Pro, put it right over the middle of that hill that's halfway there, and you could probably easily glide that up to the island. Unfortunately, I have to lay up short, and so we're 150 away with a wind. So here, this is the difference between having a putt over on the other side of the island or having a throw in from 150 feet with a crosswind of 3. So I'm going to go with this sticky keystone, and bam. So that right there, I think, is the huge difference. People always ask, what's the difference between pro level versus people that are not quite at that level? Those throw-ins save me so many strokes. And then again here, so kind of a cross headwind of 2, this one's probably not going to be close. I mean, if I can get within 160, oh, that was awful. So we're going to try to run this one, but this is, what do I want to throw? Throw the fuse. We're trying to line up. Just trying to think where I would aim. And this is going to want to flip over. Yeah, it's too much. That was decent height, though. So we're going to have to settle for the par. So those skip Ballista Pros do make a huge difference, whether it's the glide skip or the light skip. I mean, it's those longer par 4s that they, not only do they bring into play the eagle, they make the eagle much, much, much more consistent. So not having that is a huge disadvantage for people. All right, this one is a shorter one. I actually don't mind the regular Ballista Pro. I actually have a tendency to sometimes, that was weird, to skip too long in this hole. So getting it right here from 71, that's pretty easy. That leaves us with the last hole of the tournament, and this is another one where, again, I would love to have the light glide Ballista Pro or some light disc that I could throw up over the top of those trees. Unfortunately, I don't have that, so I think this is going to be a very challenging eagle. I'm pretty confident, as long as I don't go out of bounds, that I could get a birdie, but that is not going to work. Yeah, and so again, right here, I would throw a light disc up over the top, but not having that, I'm going to try to throw it. Oh, that flipped over way more than I wanted. Yeah, see, that's where the light disc comes into play. You can kind of throw it up over a lot of those trees, and you can't get it over every tree, but you can at least kind of limit the number of ones that you have to fight through. And so here, I had to throw in from 86 feet just to get a birdie. Very good round. That's one of my better rounds on the 0 to hero. And we'll kind of see, so the four eagles, we'll see where we are. I'm probably pretty far back, though. I'm guessing 13 under is not even the hot round. We'll see what the leaderboard looks like. Okay, so I actually shot a round comparable to the leaders. So it's just that few strokes here and there, and then that round 3 just obliterated me. But 10 strokes back, and there were easily 10 strokes out there with different discs, so... Good stuff. Well, guys, I think that is going to wrap up the 0 to Hero series, where I've basically talked about the introduction, starting off with the Challenge of Valley courses, and then walking through the process of doing multiplayer and the Pro Tours and seeing what it takes to compete. So I think you've seen a lot of the skills, the throw-ins, and things that you need to work on. But bottom line is you need to level up as quickly as possible, try to get access in the Pro Shop and levels up. to any of the Ballista Pros you can, any of the higher end discs, because they won't magically make your game better, but without those, you are basically giving away strokes at different stages throughout most rounds and most tournaments. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I will be back with a couple new mini series, one of them about forehand throw-ins and a recent pro tour that I did really well on. So hopefully you've enjoyed this series, and I will see you guys back later for future videos. Thanks.